I'm just your average, snack-loving, adventure-chasing golden dog. And guess what? My best friend Dad and I go on the coolest adventures. We've got a big black Jeep named Birdie, a whole world to explore, and, of course, plenty of snacks. Every week is a brand new tail-wagging adventure. You never know what we'll find. Hidden carrots, new friends, maybe even buried treasure. So grab your hat, pack your snacks, and come with us.
Harley and Dad's epic Canadian tour, Manitoba. Oliver the RV rolled smoothly along the prairie highway, golden fields stretching all the way to the horizon. In the passenger seat, Harley was practically vibrating, his chubby golden body bouncing with every bump in the road. His tail thumped wildly against the armrest. "Dad, I've never had a pig," Harley blurted. "Do you think it'll like biscuits? Will it sleep in my bed? Will it come on walks with us? Oh, maybe it can learn to sit and roll over and play fetch." Dad glanced over, puzzled. What pig, buddy?" Harley grinned ear to ear. "The one we're going to win. You said we were headed to win a pig." Dad burst out laughing so hard he had to ease Oliver down to a gentle crawl. "Harley, we're going to win a peg. It's a city, not a contest." Harley froze, then slowly turned to stare out the window. His ears drooped for a moment. Then he straightened up, eyes bright again, and whispered to himself, "Hang on, Snorty. I'm coming for you." Dad shook his head, still chuckling, and they rolled on toward their first stop, Riding Mountain National Park. Dad parked Oliver beside a sparkling lake rimmed with tall aspen trees, the leaves whispering in the breeze. Harley hopped out, nose twitching. "Dad, it smells like squirrels, and maybe pancakes." They followed a trail through a meadow bursting with wildflowers. Harley bounced along until they crested a low ridge and froze. "Dad!" "What is it, Bud?" Harley narrowed his eyes at the valley below. "It's them again." Sure enough, a herd of bison was grazing peacefully in the tall grass. Dad smiled. "Pretty amazing, huh?" "Amazing?" Harley hissed. "We saw bison in Alberta. We saw bison in Saskatchewan. And now," he pointed dramatically, "they're here. How did they beat us to Manitoba?" Dad chuckled. "They're not following us, buddy. They just live here." Harley squinted. "Or they're tracking Oliver. Look at that one. He's totally pretending to eat grass while keeping us in his sights." One large bison lifted its head, chewed slowly, and stared directly at Harley. "See?" Harley yelped. "That's the leader. He's plotting something." Dad shook his head. "They're just curious." "I'm watching you, big fluffy," Harley muttered. "Don't try anything." Dad shook his head with a grin and ruffled Harley's fur. "Relax, buddy. Come on. I know something that will take your mind off the bison. Let's go to the Forks." With a final, "I'm watching you" stare, Harley followed Dad back to Oliver and climbed in. "I'm already excited, Dad," Harley said. "Any place named after a fork has got to be worth visiting. Forks means snacks." Dad snorted a laugh, and off they went. The Forks was buzzing with activity when Oliver came to a stop. Buskers playing fiddles, kids chasing each other through fountains, and the smell of bannock and cinnamon sugar floating through the warm air. Harley's tail was already wagging hard enough to power a small fan, and then he saw it. Under the shade of a bright red carnival tent, there was a prize table, and in the very center sat the plumpest, pinkest, most perfect plush pig Harley had ever laid eyes on. Its floppy ears looked like they were listening for him. Its stitched smile seemed to say, "I've been waiting for you, Harley." Harley gasped so loudly 3 pigeons took up from a nearby bench. "Dad, it's Snorty." Dad raised an eyebrow. "Snorty?" "That pig," Harley said firmly. "He's the one. My pig. My destiny." The booth attendant grinned. "3 rings for $5. Land all 3 and you can take home any prize you like." Harley's tail wagged so hard he knocked over a stack of paper cups. "Step aside, Dad. This is my moment." First toss, plonk, right over a peg. The crowd cheered. Second toss. Harley closed one eye, stuck his tongue out for balance, and plonk, nailed it again. By now kids were chanting, "Harley, Harley." For the final toss, Harley locked eyes with Snorty. "This one's for us, buddy." Plonk! The ring slid perfectly over the center peg. The crowd erupted. A little girl yelled, "He's a champion!" Harley bounced with joy. The attendant handed over Snorty like a rare treasure. "I'll never let you go," Harley whispered. Dad chuckled. "It's just a toy, bud." Harley turned, eyes serious. "No, Dad. He's family now." Harley and Snorty jumped back into Oliver. Harley put Snorty into the cup holder and patted his head. "You ride here with me, Snorty, at least for the rest of the Manitoba trip." Dad carefully drove Oliver from the Forks to a train station and then grabbed their backpacks. "Come on, pup," he said. "It's time to take a train." "A train? But—" Harley looked over at Snorty and gave him a quick hug before jumping out. "Oliver, you look after my crew." Oliver beeped happily in agreement, and Harley trotted after Dad. "Where are we going now, Dad?" Harley asked, looking at all the trains in the station. "Churchill, my furry co-pilot, way up north." And with that, they boarded the train. Harley sat on the seat beside Dad, nose glued to the window as endless stretches of forest rolled past. "This is amazing," Harley whispered. "I've seen 5 squirrels, 3 birds, and— hang on, was that a moose?" Dad grinned. "Could have been. We've got a long way to go." As the tracks carried them north, the trees thinned and the land turned rocky and wild. "Dad, I think we're headed straight into adventure," Harley said solemnly. When they finally arrived, the air felt different, crisp, salty, and wild. Their first stop was the famous tundra buggy. Harley climbed aboard, pressing his paws against the huge windows. "I feel like an explorer already." They rumbled out over the tundra, tires taller than Dad. The buggy creaked and swayed as it crossed frozen ground, and then Dad pointed. "There's one." Harley's jaw dropped. "That's not a bear. That's a furry white mountain with legs." The polar bear lifted its massive head, gave them a slow blink, and plodded toward the buggy. Harley's eyes went wide. "He's coming over to say hi. Quick, Dad, get him a snack." Dad laughed. "Bears are not snack-sharing animals, buddy. Ever. They're wild." The bear sniffed the metal side, gave a very unimpressed grunt, and wandered away, disappearing into the vast white horizon. Later, They swapped the tundra buggy for a small boat. The water was calm, but Harley's nose twitched at every splash. "What's under us?" he whispered. "Watch," Dad said. White shapes began to appear, rolling and gliding through the water like ghosts. Beluga whales surfaced, their smooth backs gleaming. One came right alongside the boat, turning its head to look up at Harley. "He's smiling at me," Harley gasped. "They do that," Dad said softly. Harley leaned as far over as his life jacket would allow. "Hi, I'm Harley. Do you like pigs? I have one named Snorty." The whale let out a soft puff of breath through its blowhole, like a polite laugh, before diving away. Back on shore, the sun set over the Hudson Bay, and Harley snuggled against Dad as they sat on a bench watching. "Dad, I think Churchill is my new favorite place." Dad smiled. "It's hard to beat." They rode the train back to Oliver, and after a quick check on Harley's crew, Dad drove them to Spruce Woods Provincial Park. The park spread out before them, golden dunes rolling under a brilliant blue sky. The air was warm, dry, and carried a faint smell of sun-baked grass. Harley hopped out of Oliver and froze mid-step. "Dad, I think we took a wrong turn. This is a desert." Dad smiled. "That's right, buddy. This is Sprit Sands." Harley tilted his head. "Wait, deserts are supposed to have camels. Where are the camels?" "No camels here," Dad said, chuckling. "Just sand, grasses, and a few special plants that can survive in this dry environment." Harley blinked. "So did the camels go on vacation? Or did they move to, like, a bigger desert?" Dad laughed again. "There were never camels here, Harley. This place has been around for thousands of years, since the last ice age, when the glaciers melted and left behind all this sand." Harley's tail wagged. "Thousands of years? So the sand is ancient snack crumbs?" "Not quite," Dad said. "The Assiniboine River used to flow through here differently, and it dropped sand all over this area. The wind has been shaping it ever since." They started walking up a dune, Harley's paws sinking into the warm sand. "So why here? Why not make a desert somewhere else?" "Nature works in mysterious ways," Dad said, "but this is the only desert like it in Manitoba." Halfway up the dune, Harley stopped again. "Are you sure there were never camels? Not even one?" Dad grinned. "Pretty sure." They reached the top, and Harley's eyes went wide. Dunes rolled out in every direction, some with tufts of grass, others completely bare, shimmering in the sun. "This is amazing," Harley said softly. "It's like a giant sandcastle without the bucket." They sat together, looking over the golden waves of sand. Harley squinted into the distance. "Okay, maybe there aren't camels, but if a bison walks by wearing sunglasses, I'm not surprised." Dad laughed. "Let's keep our eyes open. You never know in Manitoba." After the desert with no camels, Dad drove them to Whiteshell Provincial Park. The lake was glassy and still, mirroring the pine-covered hills around it. Harley sat in the bow of a canoe, snug in his bright red life jacket, leaning over the side to blow bubbles. "I'm embracing my inner beluga," he announced proudly. "Do I look like one?" Dad smiled from the stern. "You look like a golden dog about to fall in the water." A loon called across the water, and Harley answered with a happy woo-woo-woo. After a while, Dad reached into the tackle box. How about we try some fishing, buddy? Harley's ears perked. You mean snacks that live in the water? I'm in. Dad cast the line, and Harley leaned so close his nose was almost touching the bobber. Come on, fishies, don't be shy. Suddenly, the bobber twitched, then disappeared under the surface. Dad reeled in, and a gleaming silver fish broke the water. Harley cheered, "Snack alert!" Dad grinned. "I think you're right, buddy." Back at their campground, Dad cleaned the fish while Harley supervised from a safe but very interested distance. "Are you sure you know what you're doing, Dad? This is very important snack preparation." Soon the fire was crackling and the smell of sizzling fish filled the air. Harley's tail thumped in anticipation. They sat side by side at the picnic table as Dad placed a small, boneless piece on a plate just for Harley. Harley sniffed it, took a bite, and his eyes went wide. "Dad, this is the best snack ever." Dad smiled. "Fresh from the lake." Harley licked his lips. "Okay, Manitoba, you've officially won my stomach." That night, Oliver settled into a quiet campground near the Ontario border. The scent of Dad's barbecuing chicken drifted through the warm evening air. Inside, Harley prepared his bed for the night, arranging Oggie the Ogopogo, Barry the Bison, Scotty the T-Rex, and Snorty the Pig in a perfect snuggle formation. "All right, team," he said. "No fighting over pillows and no snoring louder than me." When Dad peeked in, Harley was curled in the middle of his stuffy pile. "Want to hear my favorite things about Manitoba?" Harley asked. Dad smiled. "Of course." In Riding Mountain, catching the bison in the act. At the Forks, winning Snorty. In Churchill, the smiling beluga. In Sprit Sands, the secret beach with no ocean. And in Whiteshell, the fish, best snack ever. And now, barbecue chicken and you. Dad laughed. "Sounds like a good trip." Harley yawned, nestling deeper into his stuffies. "Yeah, best trip ever." Under the stars, the campfire crackled, Dad hummed softly, and Harley drifted into dreams of tomorrow and the next step of the epic Canadian tour.
What a great day that turned out to be! Best day ever! I can't wait until next week when we go on another adventure. Make sure you click subscribe so you can join me and like my video too, please, because I sure like you. See you next week, friends!